What's up, YouTube? I'm the Calcar131, and this is part one of a two-part series I'm going to be doing on overpenetration. Now, just get this out of the way real quick. What is overpenetration? Some of the guys might be asking. Overpenetration, there's no such thing as overpenetration. Some of the females might be asking. But in this in this case, overpenetration I'm talking about is the concept of in the gun world, self-defense sort of shooting world, the idea of shooting a threat. I'll say someone's a threat to your life, you engage them, the bullet hits the target, goes all the way through, and it continues on to possibly hit someone else, a third party bystander, or it penetrates through the target, goes through a wall, and then it possibly hits someone else. That's the general sort of concept of overpenetration, basically. There's nuances depending on the situation, but that's the general concept. You hear it a lot of the time when you look at uh, quote unquote, like the best self-defense round for 223 or 9mm or whatever. A lot of the times I'll talk about overpenetration because it's something that seemingly everybody in the gun world really worries about. Now, let me get my personal opinions and biases out of the way right off the bat. I think overpenetration is something to consider. Absolutely. That's why I use the standard I do when I do gel tests, 12 to 18 inches. You want to know why? Watch a video right up here. There's a reason I go for that standard. I don't want it to go too far, but I think overpenetration is absolutely worried about way more than it really should be. Now, why do I think that? Two reasons. One, because statistically, there's a very good chance you're going to flat out miss some of the shots you take. The FBI paper, Handgun Wounding Factors and Effectiveness, makes it very clear whenever they state that the majority of trained law enforcement miss most of the shots they take. I forget what the exact stat was. I'll try and throw it up on screen if I can find it, but it was something like, I think the NYPD, I believe it was them, found that something like 30% of the shots their officers took were hits, which means almost 3/4 of what they shot were misses. I mean, there might be some variation, but even so, that's a huge margin of error. That's a huge amount of shots that just miss. So the idea that the shots you take that hit the target, go all the way through, and continue on are somehow more dangerous than the shots that flat out miss, which statistically you probably will miss some shots. The idea that those over penetration rounds are more dangerous than the misses doesn't make any sense. And I actually have a little bit of personal experience with that. On one of the programs I took, I actually got to do some, I don't really know what the proper name for it is, but like some scenario-based like laser gun sort of training. I had a blowback laser Glock 17, and the cop behind the computer would put on a couple scenarios, and I had to try and talk the subject down. And one of them, I talked him down, and he put the weapon down, and the scenario ended. Another one, I guess I didn't talk him down enough because Big Boy charged me with the hammer, so I shot him. I want to say this has been a couple years ago, but I want to say I shot 5 times. 4 of them, I remember this pretty well. 4 of the hits I shot, 4 of the shots I took were hits. You know, pretty decent, sort of roughly center mass hits. One of them was like over his shoulder, his like left or right shoulder. So out of the roughly again like 4 or 5 shots I took, I missed one, just completely missed him. So the idea that you're going to hit a target, go all the way through, and then have that be more dangerous than the shots that probably miss anyway is stupid. Second reason I think overpenetration is worried about way too much is I implore you, you loyal viewer, to subscribe. Also, no, I implore you to try and find me a documented self-defense civilian shooting where the civilian hit their target, it went all the way through, and then hit an innocent third-party bystander. Please find me a documented case of it happening and link it in the comments below, because I can't really find any. Civilian self-defense shooting. I'm not talking the Alec Baldwin shooting. That wasn't a civilian self-defense shooting. I'm not talking about so-and-so knew a guy who knew a guy, or I was a cop 30 years ago and I heard of it happening. I'm talking about documented cases where you can provide proof that it happened. I can't really find any. And even if you can, link it in the comments. I'd love to read about it. Not love to, it's unfortunate, but I want to read about it. But regardless, I'm willing to bet you can't find many because has it happened? Sure. I'm sure it's happened before. Is it also extremely, extremely rare for it to happen? I'll be willing to bet yes. And the idea that you're choosing a round that doesn't penetrate very much and you're putting your own life in jeopardy possibly by choosing a round that underperforms because you're worried about something that by and large doesn't happen doesn't really make a lot of sense. The FBI paper I talked about very clearly states that almost no officers have ever been sued for overpenetration. Now, that might be different now because people love to sue for anything and try and get money, but virtually no officer has ever been sued because of an overpenetration sort of scenario. But a whole lot of officers have died because they didn't have a round that penetrated deep enough that would hit and destroy vital organs, cause rapid blood loss, and lead to rapid incapacitation. So basically, part one of a two-part series. I believe I just counted 17 pieces of drywall here. I'm going to see, let's say you happen to miss your target. Let's say you happen to just flat out miss your target. How many quote unquote walls would these 3 rounds go through if you missed your target? Now, obviously, this is not like the perfect test. There is no perfect test. These aren't spaced out right. There's no insulation, yada, yada. This is like just a redneck science test to give you maybe one idea that you can go off of for which one of these sort of platforms offers the biggest risk, I guess, of overpenetration. So, as you can hopefully tell, I'm not sure if it's on camera, I have a 12 gauge, 9 millimeter, and a 223. The rounds I'm going to be testing in all of them are basically my preferred self-defense round in each caliber. In 9 millimeter, I have the 90 grain plus P Extreme Defender, some double aught buck for the 12 gauge, and the 62 grain gold dot for the 223. Now I'm going to be 5 yards away, and I'm going to take a shot. We're going to investigate and see how many it went through, and we will see of these 3 which one has the most risk of overpenetration if you happen to just completely miss the target that you were aiming at. All right, I am 5 yards away. 90 grain plus P Extreme Defender, Glock 45, so 4-inch barrel. Let's see how many pieces of drywall it'll go through. I could have gotten more because this is not a perfect test, as I said. I'm willing to bet it's going to go through all 17, personally, but let's see. I hit the very edge, so I think I'm going to have to retake that. All right, I kind of missed that one, so let's retake it. It was on the extreme edge, so let's try another one. That one's still kind of on the edge, but let's check it out and see what it looks like. Right, so here's the 2 shots I took. This would be the first, this would be the second. I continue on. It's about right here that bottom shot I took, which looks like it's farther in. This one skipped out entirely. The top one is still going until this would be, I think, 15 or 17 total. And the bullet is right here. Focus. Looks perfectly fine like the Extreme Defender bullet is supposed to, but looks like it stopped right there on 15. I'm going to try taking one more shot and try and get it closer to the center. We'll see what happens. All right, we're going to try this one more time. See if I can avoid flinching enough to actually get it where I'm aiming. I suck at shooting. Better. Still not where I was aiming really, but better. All right, so now you can see that new hole on the bottom. Continues on. Still going. And it looks like it went all the way through. This test is not being very conclusive. It's the last. Oh, wait. Looks like it didn't go all the way through. It hit it, but it didn't have enough power to go through. There's the first bullet. Where's the second? There it is right there. Ooh, it's hot. So it looks like the 90 grain plus P Extreme Defender, we're looking at roughly 15 to 17 where it's going to stop. Just, I mean, a little bit of variation depending on the individual bullet, but that's what it looks like. All right, so the 9mm 90 grain Extreme Defender plus P, we looked at roughly like 15 to 17 pieces of drywall. Now, 1463, by the way, was the velocity I got off that last one. 62 grain gold dot. Gold standard. Why do you think they call it gold dot? It's the gold standard for 223 self-defense rounds. Ballistic advanced barrel. See what we get. .2610 velocity. All right, so here is my gold dot hit. I think my audio fucked up on that last shot, so apologies for that. But continues on right here. Oh, wait. Right here, you can see it looks like it hit the nail, and I had holding that up. That probably robbed some of the power of it, but keep on going. Penetrated through here. As you can see, it looks like it was doing what it's meant to. It's keyholing a bit. And the bullet was right here. Real mangled up, but it stopped about 16. So, quick recap. The 9mm got 15 to 17 roughly. The 223 got 16, and it just barely popped out of 16. So pretty even, honestly. Now, double aught buck. Oh boy. Looks like 1214, I think, for the velocity. See that double aught buckshot hit right there. Continues all the way through. Looks like a lot of it stops right here. A couple still went through. One down there on the bottom. Sorry, that was the 9mm. Right down there, you might be able to tell, is where one of the double aught buck pellets is. A couple more of the double aught buck pellets here. One here. Can't find any more. But looks like it stopped. Well, all of them, I suppose, stopped on, what would that be? 17, 16, 15, 14, 13? 13, it looks like. Looks like a couple of them might still be lodged in there because they never came out the back. So, very interesting test, I have to say. Not at all how I expected it to go. I'll openly admit that. I personally expected the 223 to penetrate less than the 9mm and the 12 gauge. In that respect, I'm surprised. I'll try and throw up on screen. There's an article that's come out. If you actually do your research, it's kind of well known, that 223, despite what the media claims of it being a high-powered rifle, it actually tends to penetrate less than the other two, and it's really just simple physics, considering the 223 is a very fast round and it's very small, meaning it sheds a lot of energy pretty quickly, as opposed to these two, which are heavier and slower, so they tend to just keep on plowing through barriers, as opposed to, like I said, the 223 sheds its energy quicker. It might start tumbling, and because that's a much larger surface area, it's going to shed even more energy. So that's what I was expecting to happen. The 223 would be farther up here. The 9mm and the 12 gauge just blow through all of them. I'm surprised. 17th piece of drywall, nothing went through. One of the 9mm punched into it, but it didn't have enough to go all the way through. I am surprised by that. I'll openly admit. However, the part I'm not surprised about, the other thing I was hoping to get through with this video, which there's other videos that have shown this, but all three of these are going to penetrate a whole lot if you miss your target. So, you know, people that say you shouldn't choose a 223 for self-defense because it'll over penetrate if you miss. No more than a 9mm. Both of them got literally like the exact same amount. The 12 gauge, that one really blew me away. It penetrated less. Now, I've done a video on the best home defense platforms right here and why I don't really think the 12 gauge is the best option for a lot of people. But the 12 gauge penetrated less. I'm surprised as hell at that. But the point of this video really was to get across that no matter which one of these you choose, if you flat out miss your target, all of them are going to over penetrate. They're all going to go through multiple walls, multiple barriers. Now, this could have been different if I had spaced these out more like an actual sort of room or actual walls would be. I don't know. As I've already said, this is not a perfect test, but the results are what they are. The 9mm and the 223 both got, say on average, 16 inches, 16 pieces of drywall. The 12 gauge double aught buck actually only got to like 14. Not really much of a difference, but there it is. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I highly encourage you to subscribe because next week, part 2 of my Overpenetration series is going to come out where we find out how lethal these rounds would be if you hit a target, it went all the way through, went through a wall, and there just happened to be someone there. If that sounds interesting to you, subscribe and stick around for next Friday. If you enjoyed the video, you found it entertaining or informative, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of the video. Did you think it was flawed? Did you like it? Would you rather have seen me do it differently? Tell me. I'm the Car 131, signing off.